What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Electrician's Room. We've kind of been on a hiatus for a little bit. I've been super busy with work, but we're back, and we're going to go over 3-bend saddles today. We've been doing a lot of conduit stuff on the Instagram page, so I figured why not do 3-bend saddles for YouTube for a full-length video. We're going to do both methods today, the push-through as well as the one where you do 2 bends, flip it over, and then do the last bend. But anyways, let's jump into it. So 3-bend saddles are typically used to go over like a singular object. Like if this was another piece of conduit or a plumbing pipe by itself and you just wanted to saddle over it instead of doing like an offset up and then offset back down. 3-bend saddles typically are not very easy to pull through, but they definitely have their place on a job site. There are certain situations where it absolutely looks good and it's the most efficient way to get over an obstacle. So this is going to be our obstacle for today for the demonstration. So I've gone ahead and measured this already, but what you need to do is measure your obstacle. This is at 4 1/4. So I'm going to do my 3-bend saddle at 5 inches. That'll give me an additional 3/4 inch of clearance for my saddle over the obstacle. And then what you do with that number, once you get your clearance, is multiply it by 2.5. And for us, that gives you 12.5. And those are all the numbers that you're going to need to lay out the conduit. So let's go ahead and lay out the conduit. So for the saddle that we're going to be doing today, we're going to do a 45-degree bend in the center of our conduit. And then the 2 bends on the outer side are going to be 22.5. Now you can do a 30-degree bend in the middle and then 15s on the outside, or 60 and then 30 on the outside. But whatever that middle degree is, the outer bends have to be half of that to make up the bend angle for the center bend. But we're going to be doing a 45 and then 2 22.5s on the outside. So I've gone ahead and made the mark for my 45-degree bend right here. And also there is a shrink factor, obviously, for doing a 3-bend saddle. It's 3/16 per inch. That's if you're starting from a piece of conduit and have to have the peak of the saddle in the exact position where it needs to be. We don't have that, so we're not going to do the shrink factor. But again, it is 3/16 per inch. So if we had to, since our obstacle is 5 inches, ours would be 15/16, and that's how that works. But remember, so we took our clearance that we need, which is 5 inches, multiplied that by 2.5, giving us 12.5. So from our first bend, our 45-degree bend, what we're going to do is take our tape measure and measure on each side of that 12.5 inches, mark our conduit. Make sure you mark it all the way around. Do it on the other side as well. Make sure I get this lined up right so I don't botch it. 12.5 on the other side as well. And then those are the 3 marks that you need to bend your saddle. If you are enjoying the video so far or learning something, I would greatly appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. But anyways, let's move on. The first bend that we're going to make is going to be that 45-degree bend. And as you can see, we have it lined up on the 45-degree center of bend notch on the bender. The 45-degree for this method of a saddle has to be bent, well, for both of them actually, has to be bent on center of bend. So the 45-degree bend, that's the one we're doing first. It's got to be on center of bend. So we'll go ahead and bend that. That looks good. Now you can push the conduit out. Line up your 22.5-degree bends. And on this bender, we have 22 as an option. We don't have 22.5. That's completely fine. Might take a little bit of tweaking, but it is not that big of a deal. And this 22.5 bend is going to be lined up on the arrow for this method, or the notch for the arrow, as opposed to the 45 being center of bend. This one just goes on the notch right there. And then we're going to bend that one to 22.5. Make sure you get it lined up so you don't have any dog leg in it. Looks good right there. Go ahead and get that bent. Beautiful. Now you got to flip it around for this method and then do your 22.5 on the other side. Get it lined up in that arrow again, not center of bend. Straighten it out. Make sure you take your time too when you're lining up to make sure you don't have any dog in it, because you're bending this 3 times in one stick, so it's very easy to put a dog leg in it. Went a little bit too much. So we're going to take a little bit of bend out of that. And then once you're done bending it, What you want to do is lay it on the floor. This garage floor is terrible, so hopefully this is okay. And you want to make sure that both of the legs of the conduit, or I'm sorry, of the bend, are laying flat on the ground. So you can see this one's riding a little bit high, so we got to take some more bend out. This one's okay. So we're going to take a little bit of bend out of this. Not a big deal, but that is how you check to make sure that the saddle is correct. Check it again. Take a little bit more out. Okay, and that's pretty good. So you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, but the legs of the 3-bend saddle are laying flat on the ground. We have our peak right here in the middle, and then this leg is also laying flat on the ground. That's how you know your saddle's correct. You also want to check it to make sure that you're at 5 inches. And we are perfect right at 5 inches, so that's exactly what we wanted. So that is how you do it with that method. So that is the method where you do 2 of your bends, flip it over, do the last bend. This method is the push-through method, which I prefer more, but what you have to do for the push-through method, go ahead and make a mark on your conduit. Can be anywhere, and do it on like a trash piece, because you're just going to identify a location on your bender. Go ahead and grab your bender, line that mark up with the arrow, or any place for reference, but you know, line it up on the arrow. Go ahead and bend a 22.5. Now you can take it out of the bender. And now that it's out of the bender, typically you would want this to be a little bit longer, because what we're gonna do is make, you know, put a straight edge on it and make a cross to indicate where center of bend is for 22.5. But this will work. So you're gonna line up your bender on one side of the conduit. Go ahead and grab your pencil. Make a line going that way. Line it up on the other side of the conduit. Make another line going this way. And then wherever that center is, you're going to make a line right there over the top. And that is where center of bend is going to be for your bender. Because we have center of bend for 45 on here, but we don't have it for 22.5. So we got to make that. So then take your mark that you made and put on the arrow, which is right there. We'll load it back in the exact same spot. Line it up, get it back in there, and you can see that I already have the mark for my 22.5 that I've made on my bender, but wherever those two lines intersect, just make a line over the top of the EMT or the conduit, and then make a mark on your bender, and that signifies where 22.5 is, center of bend. And the layout will be exactly the same. We're gonna mark the center of this piece of conduit just at the halfway point. That's our 45. Doing the same math, we're gonna be at 12.5. For our next one, and 12.5 for this one. Now we can go ahead and bend it using the push-through method. Now the two biggest differences doing it this way, I know I've mentioned this multiple times, but we're not gonna start with our 45. We're gonna start with our 22.5, our farthest mark. And then every single one of these bends for push-through method is going to be on center of bend. So we'll start with our 22.5 right here. Get that lined up on center of bend of 22.5. Go ahead and bend that. A little bit too much. Go ahead and flip the conduit over. Line up center of bend on your 45. Line it up. Crack your 45. Spin it again. And then you can line up your last 22.5, center of bend, and make your last bend. Oh. And there you have it. So that is how you do a 3-bend saddle using both methods. 3-bend saddles are tricky. It does take a little bit of practice, but it definitely is an opportunity to showcase your work, because if you can do these accurately and cleanly, it does look very nice. But that's it for this one. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care.